What is EOS and how can it help founders build a strong foundation for their business, Lloyd? Well, Lloyd, just before we get into that, you know our podcast sponsors, .inc domains?
Yeah.
You know they help you get an exact match business domain for a way more cost-effective price?
Yeah.
Well, to sweeten the deal, they're offering our anchors 20% off base tier domain.
Nice.
All they have to do is go to get.inc/business anchors and type in coupon code business anchors at checkout for 20% off.
Well, that's brilliant. They should probably all do that now, shouldn't they?
They should probably do it now, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Also, just before we get into the podcast, I think something that would be good to talk about is like why people would invest in a .inc domain, because people may have heard us speaking about it, and we've obviously got businessanchors.inc, our own .inc domain. So there's a few kind of key reasons why people would want to invest in a .inc domain. So firstly, Lloyd, they could upgrade their main domain to a .inc domain to be the exact keyword that they want.
Yeah, because if you're like, we might have needed to be like businessanchors247.com.
Yes.
Because obviously Business Anchors is so popular.
Yeah.
Whereas you could be businessanchors.inc.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another one is for like a marketing landing page. So if you're running a specific campaign and you want a standalone kind of marketing landing page, you could have a specific .inc domain for that.
Nice.
Another one that we mentioned in previous episodes is to have like specific keywords like protein.inc or cheese.inc, where it'll be really expensive to get, protein.com or cheese. I don't know why I was gone about cheese.com. But we looked at it. It was like some crazy amount to buy the domain, like 70 or 80,000.
It's basically a great new opportunity for those like one-word domains that you could get that haven't been available for years and would cost hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, and they're offering 20% off now. So just to check you were listening, Lloyd.
Yes.
How can anchors get 20% off their .inc domain?
I believe they need to go to get.inc/business anchors and search the domain that they want, and then use code business anchors at checkout.
Is that in capital letters or lowercase letters, Lloyd?
The code in capital letters, I think.
Well done.
According to my notes.
So go and get your .inc domain now.
The entrepreneurial operating system is a framework designed to help small and medium-sized business achieve their vision and growth objectives, Dan.
Well said.
That's exactly what ChatGPT say.
Oh.
But in reality, the entrepreneurial operating system, I'm going to call it EOS from now on, because otherwise that's going
easier, isn't it?
Yeah, easier. Don't want to put too much effort in, do we?
No.
It basically gives you the tools to make the impact that you want your business and activity to have on the world and on yourself and your people and that kind of thing. And hopefully that will lead you to living the life that you want to, and that the same for your team and your people and that kind of thing.
And like anything, this is something that's been really positive for our business. So we're not just talking theory here. It's like we've been using this and it's been really useful for our business. So
yeah, we do this. I will also be quite honest. There's different elements we'll be talking about, and some of them we really do well on, and some of them really we've only just started or we need to start implementing it within our business. And it'll be the same for you guys listening. Like, you might have started this journey with EOS and be listening because you think, oh yeah, I'm interested in that, I'm doing that, or you might be complete beginner and not done this. But I would say if you are a beginner or you don't use EOS and you have a business with, like, even if it's at least 2 or 3 people, I think this would be really useful. So keep listening. And the main thing for me, basically, people are mental, right? Most businesses are based around people. There's very few where there's like a small number of people and then it's all like software and data and shit. But most businesses involve, as they grow, a lot of people. And EOS basically brings processes to those people to try and get us all to work together in a way that's like efficient, makes sense, does what we need to do, and in a way that like everyone working together is happy and like enjoying themselves and like not thinking, I hate this. This is rubbish. Everyone around me can't do their jobs. This is shit.
So why did we, trying to think back, like why did we choose to integrate it into our business? Because I guess we didn't have we had people, we didn't have the processes. So it helped us with that.
Yeah. So there's one thing, a metaphor I heard this morning about, I was listening to something about EOS because I just live the EOS life, mate. I think there's a book called
Loser
EOS Life as well. Have you heard the metaphor about the entrepreneur riding a lion?
No, this sounds like you made it up.
No, I actually didn't. The person I heard it from might have made it up. But it's a whole thing. Being an entrepreneur or like a leader in a business, it's like you're riding this lion and everyone's looking at you going, oh my God, he's riding a lion. How cool is that? He must have his shit together. Look at that. He's riding a lion. And it's like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. You're doing this amazing stuff. And then what's actually happening as an entrepreneur is
Holding on for dear life.
You're on this lion going, how the fuck did I get on a lion? And like holding on for dear life and being like, oh shit, okay, yeah, this is going well, but I don't really know what to do from here. That's obviously a weird metaphor, but I think that is the case being an entrepreneur or being like a leader in business, where you are most of us are really learning things and progressing and achieving good things. Even if they're small things, we're achieving them. But a lot of the time it does feel this kind of ride you're on, that you're not always fully in control. Things are happening around you and it's kind of like, oh, okay, right, that's happening. I'm dealing with this now. You're on this line and kind of like, oh shit, what's it gonna do next?
Something that gives me a lot of reassurance is like speaking to other people who are much further along their journey than us, who have been a lot more successful than us, and realizing that they're at a similar like mindset and understanding of what they're doing to what we are.
Yes.
I think when you look at other people who have done amazing things, and then you look at you and you think they are completely different to me. But when you actually speak to them, this is what gives me like we've done coaching and stuff with people who have achieved what we want to achieve. And it's been like, oh, we're doing the things that you said you were doing. Oh, we're actually doing some more things that we were doing at this step of your journey. So it's,
I suppose, implementing this fairly early in our business, like, in the grand scheme of things, when we're small, we're not, some people have 100 people and then it's like, right, we need to implement this to try and get our shit together. I think, like you're saying, we have a lot of processes in our business and stuff, which, if someone works for us and then works for a much bigger company, I think they'd realize a lot of the case, like, oh, that this isn't as organized as it used to be. We don't have the processes that we did at Knowlton. And that gives me a lot of confidence. Like you said, we've heard from different people, like, sort of mentors and even our accountant and stuff that looked at our business and gone like, oh, you kind of operate in the way that a much bigger business does. And like you're saying, that's very reassuring. And for any business that aspires to grow, to be at a point where you think, I'm operating in a way that will work if I do grow and become a bigger business, that really takes the stress off. Takes the stress off?
Is that a thing?
Don't think so.
I think the key thing to remember, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, I'm too small, even if it's only me, like, I think understanding this and implementing the elements that work for you as early on as possible is the right way to go. Not all of it will be relevant if it's only you and a few team members. But
I think the author of the EOS stuff says it's ideal for businesses with 10 to 250 people. I think, like I said at the start, in reality, I think if you are a business owner or, you're kind of an entrepreneur and you've started something and you don't necessarily have a team, even if you have like a part-time person and a couple of virtual assistants or something like that, I think it's still a good time to implement this. And it can kind of be that aspirational thing of like, okay, I'm organizing these things and I've got this ready for when I make that hire of a finance person, because that's not what I'm good at. And this is what they're going to be accountable for. This is the process we're going to have to record everything. And even if it's kind of a small number of you and you've got a few different hats on, you can play a few different roles. And then as you grow, it can grow with you.
I remember years ago going to an event that was run by Sleeping Giant Media, another agency that we're kind of partners with. And I remember Luke, one of the co-founders, speaking about EOS. This is I must be like 6 or 7 years ago. And I was it was only you and I then. And I was listening thinking, this sounds great, but not suitable for us. And then we've got to this point, and now I've realized like how important it is.
I actually heard, in business, I'm very skeptical. There's a lot of stuff, like people selling stuff, so books, like there's a lot of books around EOS. I'm always so skeptical, and I just kind of thought like, oh yeah, another one of those gimmicks. What? Oh yeah, gonna buy a load of books and then pay for a course to learn how to do it, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that's really going to help you, not make the author loads of money. And I was really skeptical because there's a lot of stuff out there. And
I've got a special process that I'll sell you.
Yeah. And what I'm really glad I did, there's a book called What the Heck is EOS? It's just one of the many books, but it basically kind of summarizes it all.
It's quite short as well.
Yeah, it's short, easy read. And yeah, within like 5 minutes, I was like already picked up so many things like this. I can see how this would really help us. And I knew straight away, I was like, oh, this isn't just a gimmicky thing of someone trying to make money. This is genuinely a really good thing. Having like an operating system for your business. Like I said, we are all, as people, we're all mental. We've got different strengths and weaknesses. We all have quirks of our personalities. We want different things. So to have processes to organize all of us weird people in a way that can work together effectively is a game changer.
For those who are interested in this, I think we did an episode 72 called "How the Entrepreneur's Operating System is game changing for businesses." We talked surface level about the Entrepreneur's Operating System in that episode, so I definitely recommend giving that one a listen because it's more surface level, and that was when we started to implement it quite a while ago. I think this episode we're going to do a bit more of a deeper dive into the different step processes within that.
Yeah, I don't think this episode won't be a long one, but we're just going to go into the different areas. And like I said, we'll talk about our experience and how it's helped us. Some things we've done more, some things we haven't. But I'm hoping going through like it's kind of like the 6 key principles in EOS, you listeners will be able to spot the bits that it might be like, oh yeah, I really need to up my game in that part. Like this would really help. I think it should highlight areas. And what I find really good with EOS is that's exactly what I did. I read the book and then was kind of like, right, that bit, I'm going to implement that bit. It's not a thing where you have to, right, follow this step by step. You can pick and choose like what's going to be the priority for your business. So we'll talk about it in a minute, but one of the areas is people. One of the areas is processes. One of the areas is data. And it's like there might be a certain area where like, shit, yeah, we really don't use any data like they're saying you should in a business. And then it is like step by step, right, I've just got to do these things it's telling me to do. And I can really make positive change straight away. So yeah, pick and choose to start. And then I think you will get excited like I did and keep doing more and more. Just
quickly before we go into the 6 different processes or the areas, sorry.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly share the thing that I found super useful from it, and this might spark some ideas with people. So what I found really useful is one, we basically planned our whole year this year using the structure shared in this framework and in the What the Heck is EOS book, which I think this year we've probably got the most defined strategic plan we've ever had, and which gives me the most confidence that we're going to have the best year ever.
Yeah.
So if you are, I know like we're not at the start of the year, but if you are looking to plan, definitely use it for that. Also the structure of our weekly meetings where we're tracking performance and ensuring we're on the right track to achieve our goals is another one. And also the structure for our quarterly meetings that we have to check each quarter how we're performing. And finally, the meeting that you and I have, just you and I, every week to check each other are doing the things we need to do to achieve our rocks.
Yes.
Which we'll get into.
You'll talk about rocks. Yeah. Sounds cringy. It is a bit cringy that they're called rocks, but we'll talk about that.
But yeah, I think it's just been incredibly useful. So Lloyd, give us an idea. Where are we going to start with this, with the different areas?
So yeah, I'm going to go through the 6 key areas involved in EOS. And like anything, guys, I'm going to talk on the surface level and introduce them, and then we're going to talk about our experience and the opportunities in those areas. Obviously, you can delve into as much detail as you want. There's so many books in the kind of EOS library. Like I said, the What the Heck is EOS is the one I love because it's so simple and short and just covers the key things. But then there's books on all the different areas.
Traction's another one, I think, a longer one.
But firstly, I'm going to introduce you now. If you're skeptical like I was, please just listen and hopefully you'll see some areas that could help your business. If not, at the end of this, you can go, well, Lloyd, you're an absolute bullshitter. That's not.
Or they can buy your course that you're selling on it, Lloyd.
Yeah, it's free. It's free if you buy something else for £7,997. Okay, so The first one is vision. I'll just read how it's kind of summarized, and then we'll go into our experience. So the EOS starts with defining a clear vision for the company. This involves determining the core values, mission, and long-term goals for the business. So for us, this is something, thankfully, we discovered a bit probably like 4 or 5 years ago, where we were kind of like, oh yeah, actually, what we need to kind of think long-term, what are we trying to do here? And I think most entrepreneurs or business owners kind of have this moment. Most people start, and when you look back, you kind of go, actually, we didn't really know what we wanted or what we were aiming for there. And this is part we kind of, a bit after we started a couple of years, we're like, okay, right, we think we kind of know what we want from this. But then the EOS has really helped us go into more detail here. But yeah, I think it's just so important for businesses at the start to be like, as business owners, what do I actually want?
Yeah.
Like as a person,
Actually
like
want.
out of this business. Yeah. Some people lie to themselves and they just kind of say they want what they're doing now so that it's easy. Like, oh, well, I just want to cover my mortgage payment. I don't mind if I work 100 hours a week. It's like, no, what do you actually want? And like personally, it might be that, right, in the next 10 years, I want to get to a point where I feel like I'm really financially stable for my business, and I'm doing things day to day that I enjoy. That might be what you want. Or it might be, I want to build a business to have 200 employees and sell it for millions. And either of those are fine, and anywhere in between.
I think a good activity you can do, which is maybe a bit cringe, but it works, is the why activity, where you keep asking yourselves why. So you said you might want to cover your mortgage payments now. That's what you want to achieve. But then you go, why don't I want to cover my mortgage payments now? Oh, because I want to have peace of mind and support my family. Why? And then you keep asking why, and eventually you can get to the root thing of like what you actually want.
As much time with my family as possible, and maybe not work full time. So, oh, that's what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
Okay. But so you've got that personal side, but then you've got the business side as well. It might be, and some people feel stronger about this and some people don't. The actual vision, what impact are you trying to have with the business? So it might be, some people were more just focused on, I want like financial independence, whatever business gets me there, I don't care. Whereas some people have really want to have an impact in the industry that they're working in. I want to make sure that no one ever has this problem cleaning these toilets again with my toilet cleaner product. Or it might be something that really is a massive thing. Like, I want to make sure no one in South Africa ever drinks dirty water again. It could be whatever it is. But as well as those personal goals, it's kind of like, what's the vision for the impact this business is going to have? And what I find amazing, like Dan said, and it's reassuring for us when we speak to people that have even bigger businesses than we do. And like some of those people still don't know what they're trying to do. And it's so much easier if you know where you're going or trying to get to. It's so much easier to track what you're doing and change things to get there than kind of going, well, yeah, I think this is going quite well. Yeah, there's things I'm earning some money and stuff's happening.
I was waiting for a cringy analogy there, like you get in a car, you put the sat nav on first.
If you get in the car, there's 2 routes you can take. One route's signposted, and it says there's a signpost every 5
EOS.
miles that says success and lifelong happiness this way. And the other one says go this way, give it a go, it's a gamble. Anyway, no, there's no cringy thing. Just get on your line, ride that. It'll be fine.
So vision.
That's vision. And again, like a lot of these, when you talk about it from as introducing it, it sounds like quite simple things. And a lot of them are. That's why I think it's so exciting and tempting to get started. The start of it, it's simple and exciting. So now if you're listening to this thinking, yeah, I don't really know what I'm aiming for, sort of starting to work on that and using the EOS to get there, thinking, yeah, actually, what do I want? It then becomes exciting thinking, wow, so in a year, I could be there. In 3 years, I could be there. In 5 years, I could be there. Then it's really exciting thinking, if I break this down to small chunks, this is all achievable. I can do that rather than just that I'm just doing this thing day to day and see where I get.
I definitely recommend getting the What the Heck is EOS book, because in that book, it gives you examples of how to structure, how you formulate that vision. And it gives you basically a template to go through all these different stages that you can use. So it makes it so easy for you. So definitely as an action point after listening to the pod, get the book.
It's a cheap book. You can read it really quickly. Yeah. No brainer. Do it. We're not earning any money, by the way. Haven't even got an affiliate link. That would be sensible. But yeah, you should do it. Okay, second area is people. So I said at the start, we're all mental. So it's something that's really important in businesses. And for most businesses, it's a massive part of their business are the people. So people. A key aspect of the EOS is ensuring the right people are in the right seats within the organization. This means hiring, training, and developing a team that is aligned with the company's vision and values. So there's a real focus in EOS of ensuring the right people are in the right seat. We've all had jobs in the past where you have to work with someone who it's like your day to day. It might be like 80% of your time. It's so good. Oh, this is good. It's like, oh, I've got a meeting with Trevor. It's like, yeah, I've got to work with Trevor on that thing later. And everyone's like, oh, bloody hell. All right. Well, how long's that going to be? Yeah, I had to work with Trevor last week. And it's that thing. Trevor might be a lovely person, but Trevor isn't in the right seat. So Trevor hasn't got the skills he needs to do the job he needs to do, or the motivation, or whatever it might be. And that affects everyone around Trevor. So making sure you have the right people in the right seats. So Trevor either needs some training, or he's better suited to a different role. So we need to find that right seat for Trevor and that kind of thing. There's just such a massive focus. And again, there's lots of ways you can go and details you can look at to get there. But making sure the right people in the right seats has a massive impact on everyone within the business.
Practical application of this.
Mm-hmm.
So listeners might be thinking, okay, so people need to be in the right seats. Basically, people need to be in the right job roles.
Yeah.
One, what action do you take, or what do you need to do to know that?
Yeah.
And two, if someone's not in the right seat, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, firstly, using EOS, you will make it really clear what everyone's responsible for and make sure that they are held accountable for that. So very quickly, and we when we first implemented this, we found there was someone that very clearly wasn't in the right seat initially, and obviously not going to go into details and stuff, but it was amazing. Like with a click of a thing, it was like, shit, it's so obvious now.
Now they've got the framework.
The issue is right. That's affecting everyone. But yeah, so using EOS, you're holding people accountable and making it really clear what they're responsible for, and very quickly. So for in Trevor's case, obviously Trevor's made up, by the way, guys. Maybe we would have weekly meetings like we have, and everyone, we do lots of things, checking client things are on track, checking there's any issues, but there'll be metrics that Trevor is responsible for. So say Trevor he's in charge of selling to customers in Thailand. Okay. That's Trevor's thing. Right. Trevor's going to come to those meetings and we go, right, Trevor, so we were looking for £8,500 of sales per week to Thailand. You're responsible for that. How have we done this week? And he goes, none this week. After 1 week, you kind of go, oh, okay, right. Oh, not ideal then. Anything we need to discuss around that, Trevor? And I go, nah, it's all fine. Next week, come back. So £8,500, what we need to do to achieve all our goals and what we're aiming for. Trevor, you go, 200 quid. Like, oh.
Something's not right here.
Right. And very quickly, you'll see, right, there's an issue here. Trevor, for whatever reason, isn't able to do the job that he's responsible for. And that allows you really quickly to take action. And from that meeting, it's going to be, okay, right, Trevor, we definitely need to sit down this week, work out what's going wrong. And it might be that, like we said, Trevor hasn't had the training he needs. It might be there's something completely outside of Trevor's control and Trevor isn't the issue. Trevor might say, the reason I can't sell, Michelle, who was in charge of our phones, she unplugged my phone. Can't speak to anyone in Thailand, so I've got no sales. Obviously, this is all very simplified. Your business issues will be more complex. But that's the thing. And then you go, right, oh, good. I'm glad we spoke about this, Trevor. There's no issue with you, Trevor. You just need your phone plugged in. So we need to speak to Michelle. But that's a very simplified thing of making sure people are held to account, taking action, and Yeah.
I feel like EOS gives you the framework to set the with this people section, set the expectations. Then it's very clear if the expectations aren't being met on a weekly basis. Then on a weekly basis, you can identify those issues and set actions to overcome the issues. So there's no like ifs and buts. And I don't know if this is quite working or that's, it's like the hard data is there based on the framework to show you it's either working or it isn't. And then you can take action.
And I always have found in our business so far, the time when all of our team is the happiest and doing the best work is when everyone in their, in the right seats is pulling their weight and doing a good job. It's understandably, it's hard for anyone if certain people aren't doing a good job and you have to work with them in some capacity. It makes it harder for everyone involved. And don't get me wrong, we all have periods of time where we don't, we're not 100% as good as we could be. I know I do, and everyone on our team does. We all have stuff in our personal life. We all have challenges. So that's okay. But it's obviously making sure that in the long term, there's not people that are just really underperforming, putting pressure on everyone else, because you want to all be in the right seats, all have the tools you need to do a good job, and therefore all be enjoying the work you're doing and able to do a really good job.
Interesting.
That sounds ideal, doesn't it?
No,
and I guess
good.
that's what we're aiming for and what EOS kind of helps you do.
So we've got vision, we've got people. What's number 3?
Now we've got data. The EOS emphasizes the importance of collecting and analyzing data to make informed decisions. This includes tracking key metrics and creating scorecards to measure progress and identify areas for improvement.
This is the bit I mentioned that has been really helpful.
And this is probably the area I would say we're best at in our business now. It's one of the first things we've implemented, and we really use data. Compared to most businesses, I think we use it a lot, don't we?
What's a scorecard, Lloyd? Is it something you play golf with?
Yeah, well, it could be, Jen. It could be something golf, or it could be something in your business. So we have a weekly scorecard in our weekly meetings that we all go through. And basically it's key metrics that we know are really important to hit all of our long-term goals and everything. We know what we're aiming for. So we have a scorecard on how many leads have come in that week on the sales and marketing side.
The value of those leads.
The value of those leads.
How many we converted.
Conversions. We have a scorecard on if we're within our budgets for our production. So obviously we do video production as a big part. Are we on budget, both time-wise and money-wise? And we check that every week. In our weekly meeting, we have a scorecard that tracks all that stuff. And so each week, I think the key thing that's so important about this data and has helped us massively, it doesn't go longer than a week before we can see that if there's an issue. So say, for example, last week in our business, for the first time in a long time, we were quite over budget with our productions, like money-wise. It's like, we're £5,000 over budget, whereas, last few months we've been fine the whole, and we know, okay, that's an area where we need to take some action on and see what we need to do here. And then straight away we're focused and we know what we need to do. That area of the business hasn't been something we need to focus on for a while. So we focus on other things, but there's never longer than a week before something's highlighted and we can take action on it really quickly.
You can make really well-informed decisions when you have this data as well. It's not just the gut feel or we should probably do that. It's like the data is there that you're tracking is telling you this is or isn't working, and then you can set those actions to improve it.
Yeah. We have something called, so Dan and I do a management meeting with a couple of people that kind of, we almost treat like our board. We don't have an official board. And they hold us accountable. And we have something called the Knowlton Summary, which is basically a scorecard each month of, all of this stuff added up. How have we done? And, it has finance, sales, people, marketing.
Color coded.
So it's green if we're hitting our goals. It's amber if it's within 10% of the goal. So you kind of think, okay, we're nearly there. And red if it's less than that. So really clearly each month. And obviously over the year, you can see if things are going in the right direction. If there's any key areas, some months will be like, actually looking at sort of finances, sort of orange and red. Marketing might be green, people green. So it's like, that's something, right. What do we need to look at there? And I would say this has really allowed us, like this data informs us so much that we I think now, it used to be, I felt confident that we could kind of look forward about 3 months and know kind of where the business was going to be. I think it's getting closer to 6 months now of like looking forward. We have so much data. We kind of know in 6 months' time, are we heading for where we need to be? Are we heading for a challenging time? Are we somewhere in the middle? And that, again, is just for a business owner, removes stress. Not all stress. There's always going to be challenging times, but knowing the direction you're going, and I say remove stress. Obviously, if you know you're going in the wrong direction, that can be stressful, but it allows you time to do something about it, which before we had this data, and I think the reason so many businesses fail in the first few years, you can get to a point quite quickly where it's like, shit, right, okay, 2 months' time, we can't pay the wages for our team, and then the business is done. And now that data really allows us to see issues months ahead and or not even issues, maybe see, oh, we're not quite where we need to be for our goals, and make slight changes to make sure we get there.
That's the big difference now. We're seeing challenges way ahead of time, so we're not getting to them and having all that pressure of, shit, we've got this massive challenge now that is happening now and it needs to be solved now. We can see months in advance, oh, that's looking like those data points aren't where they need to be, which is going to impact us in 3 months. Let's take action now. That's enough time for things to improve.
Quick example of how you could do this, listeners. So say you've got a business of 20 people. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. In the people section of our summary, everyone's appraisals that we do quarterly, it comes out as this sounds weird, but it's kind of an average score for our team out of 10 on how well people are performing. And we have this on the Knowlton summary. And so say for your 20 people, the average score is 8.6 out of 10. You know, you think we've got, on average, quite a high performing team there. You can see why we're doing so well, because everyone's performing how they need to. Maybe next quarter, that average is 8. And it's kind of like, oh, okay, right, bit of a decrease from the last quarter, but nothing to worry about now. If the next quarter, that went down to 7.5, you quite quickly are looking at it going, hang on, we've got an issue here in the business. There isn't an issue now, but if the performance of our people keeps declining, we're not going to be having a team that can deliver the value of work we need to hit all of our goals and do the great things we want to do. So it's things like that, really simple, a number that is just like, I can see a pattern here. Right, we know that for the next few months, we need to focus on training. We need to focus on our people, make sure they have the tools they need to do a really good job, speak to them and kind of work out. So those people that have dropped in performance, let's speak to them and work out what's going on here and what they need to make sure they're back up to the level they were before. And there might be a bigger thing you need to resolve. But yeah, that's one example. It could be people, finance, it could be sales and marketing, it could be anything. But yeah, you can see that data and take action really quick.
So area number 4.
Process. The EOS encourages businesses to create a clear and documented The EOS encourages businesses to create clear and documented processes for all aspects of the organisation, from sales and marketing to operations and finance. This ensures that everyone is working from a shared understanding of how things should be done. This one, Dan.
Yeah.
I think out of all of them, this is the one we're worst at.
Yeah.
This is something that in our yearly goals here, and one of our quarterly rocks later in the year. So one of the key things to focus on is around these documenting these processes.
What's time are we for the?
I was going to say, I don't know what you guys want to do. We're currently at 36 minutes, and we're just starting the 4th one.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you think that's too much waffle then, or do you think it needs to be
No.
No. Okay. Data. The EOS emphasizes the importance. No, sorry, that's not the right. Process. The EOS encourages businesses to create clear and documented processes for all aspects of the organisation, from sales and marketing to operations and finance. This ensures that everyone is working from a shared understanding of how things should be done. This, I think, is the area we're doing worse on.
I agree.
We should be critical about our business,
Yeah.
shouldn't we? And this, something we've got, one of our quarterly rocks, so our quarterly priorities to focus on later in the year is to make sure all our processes are documented. But this is certainly something, one of the parts we need to work on.
Yeah, I especially think as we grow,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be really, and new team members come on board, it's really important that everyone has a clear understanding of the documented processes for all parts of the business.
Yeah. That's the thing. And because we haven't done much of this, I won't talk a lot about it. But I think it's just understanding if you have a business that doesn't have processes documented, or you have a business that does have all of its processes documented, if you've got new people starting, think of the extra energy that needs to go into training them and answering questions if you don't have any processes documented. Basically, it's all going to be word of mouth. Oh, yeah, I think Sharon does it like this. You've got to do this, this, and this. And there'll be lots of mistakes, lots of learning along the way. If those processes are documented, it's going to be a much smoother transition, take less resources. So your business is just going to be operating much better. And if you have a growing business, obviously, hopefully, over time, you're going to have a lot of new people starting. And yeah, it's so easy to see why that would be useful.
Something, it's just a little nugget of things that I've done in a small way to document some processes from a marketing side. Doing screen recordings of processes and narrating over them, I found quite an efficient way of documenting some. Obviously, need to do a lot more of it, but and then can have a folder on our server where new team members can watch it, all the different elements of what we do, and it's a narrated screen recording, so they can.
My dream, I've been looking up a lot of ways to do this, and my dream is use Notion. Have you heard of Notion? Something I've been using to document all the different parts of the process, and potentially using Loom. Have you heard of Loom? That's where you record lots of video and that kind of thing. It makes it very easy to have a video on all of the different areas, and it's going to be great. We just need to do it.
That's pretty sad if that's your dream.
Yeah. I have a dream. Use Notion and Loom to document our processes.
So area number 5, Lloyd?
Traction. The EOS is designed to help businesses achieve traction or momentum towards their goals. This involves setting clear priorities and establishing a rhythm of regular meetings to track progress and make adjustments as needed. So we've spoken about the weekly meetings and the monthly management meeting. This is all part of that. So we've said about, data, people can do all this good stuff. You have to have ways where you're actually recording what are our priorities and let's make sure we're actually doing them. And this is the traction part. We can't just go once a year, there are our goals, right.
See you later.
Let's try and achieve those. So we've mentioned quarterly rocks a few times.
We have.
So just so people know, that is basically a short list of the biggest business priorities each quarter, and it helps you stay really focused. So Dan and I use this a lot, and every week it's probably 15 minutes we catch up, but we look at these quarterly rocks and just flag up, are there any of these that we're not looking like we're going to achieve?
It keeps you on track to know what the priorities are, because we're talking about it constantly.
Yeah. And these could be really key things, and we don't want many of them. So it could be like, we're aiming for $250,000 turnover this quarter. We're aiming for a profit margin of 12%. Obviously, that's not relevant to our business or yours, but whatever it might be in your industry. We want to have 98% happy customers, something like that. And then any kind of projects. I think it's good for highlighting key projects that's like, right, this needs to improve on our business. We've got 3 months to do it. It's a major focus. So it might be what we said. One of our quarterly rocks is getting all of our processes documented. We're planning it for later in the year. That's going to take a lot of effort and resource, but it's much less daunting thinking we've got a 3-month period now to put into this. Obviously, it's not the only thing we're working on, and each week we're going to go, are we on track to do that? It really helps you make that positive change and keep that momentum and traction going.
Nice.
EOS loves the word traction, by the way. I think there's a book called Traction, and that this is a real key point of it. But that weekly meeting officially in EOS is called the weekly pulse meeting as well.
Wow.
And it
is quite cringe,
it's that whole thing of like nothing goes longer than a week without it being sorted. So it keeps that performance up
Pulse.
high. That pulse, boom. It's like a pulse. You see a pulse every week. Yeah, keeps it going. All right.
What's the final area, Lloyd?
Final area, issues.
Oh, okay.
You got an issue? Here's a tissue. The EOS recognises that every business will face challenges and issues along the way. It provides a framework for identifying, prioritising and solving these issues in a systematic way so that they don't become roadblocks to growth. Right, I think this is massive because there are issues in every business. No matter what you see from the outside and on social media and on LinkedIn, every business you know has massive issues they're trying to deal with. It's just part of it. And I think as a business owner, I've heard of a lot of founders that are frustrated with people on their team or things that are happening and they seem like they're not getting it out. I hear a lot of things like, there's this person on my team, they're doing this, it's really frustrating. Or, oh God, there's team been working on this, it could be done really, really a lot better. And if you're feeling that frustration or you've got any of those kind of thoughts, dealing with issues in a systemized way is really important. So before they build up to that, like we have a section in our weekly meeting of issues, ideas, and things to discuss. And so an example of that, let's keep it simple. I might just say, Dan, I've got an issue that...
Aircon? This is one Lloyd brings up regularly.
No, it isn't. We don't need to talk about that. But that could be one. Dan, I've got an issue that... The preparation for the podcast was done last minute, and I found it really hard to prepare my part of it and do a good job. And then Dan would respond to that and kind of be like, "Oh, okay, yeah," and either like, "Yeah, good point, right? I'll make a note and put it in my calendar a couple of days earlier to make sure that it's never an issue for you again." Or Dan might highlight, "The reason I find it hard is because Lloyd, you asked me to do these 12 things and didn't give me time to prep the podcast." And it basically, you'll have a conversation that isn't like, you're shit, but actually identifying why did that happen? Right, what do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen? Who's responsible for this? And you get to the point and then you set clear actions that are written down of, okay, Dan is going to put the prep time 2 days earlier in his calendar every week. And then it's like, straight away, that's dealt with.
I think it's important to try and have the non-blaming mindset as well, and it can be challenging if you're being criticised, but to try and think this is for the greater good of the business that we improve this. So let's not point fingers. Let's come up with actions.
I also think so. You have to address the person who's accountable. Like we have to have these difficult discussions. But I think if you're running these kind of meetings, and if there's anyone that is kind of going down the route of this person's shit or your shit, I think you have to rein that in and be like, no, we're not talking about anyone being rubbish here. We're talking about what's the issue. So, right, the issue is you found it hard because this hasn't been done. Okay, Trevor, let's get to the issue. Why hasn't this been done? Oh, it's because Trevor has gone part-time. He just doesn't have time for that anymore. Okay, we need to give this responsibility to someone else. Issues dealt with rather than Trevor's shit. It's because Trevor's got less hours in his day because he's gone part-time. Makes sense. So yeah, that's something you need to be careful with. Really good to be critical, look for those improvements, but don't make it personal.
So final thing for anchors who are listening, thinking this all sounds brilliant, it's all making sense. I want to do this in my business. What is the first step? Like, what are the first step or steps they should take after listening to this podcast?
I think the first step is buy the What the Heck is EOS book, or post something good about the Business Anchors podcast online. Maybe we'll buy a few for people, not making any promises, but who knows? Maybe if you do, we'll do that. Because it's a really easy introduction. And thank you. A couple of people have messaged me on LinkedIn asking already about what book to buy and advice and stuff. And I've replied to you. So I've had some lovely conversations already. Do that. And I think the real key point here is EOS is like a journey. Lots of people sell these courses and things. It's like, pay me $8,000 or like £3 less because it always ends in a 7. And like overnight, your business will suddenly be so much better. That doesn't work. Waste your money. And nothing happens that quickly. The reason you can trust that this actually works is it's like a reasonable time frame. You're going to be making changes constantly, probably for years, to implement this whole thing. We're still implementing things. And I think rather than thinking, I want to get to a point where I'm earning millions, or the business has 100 people by 3 weeks' time. It's thinking you basically need to move the needle in the right direction constantly. Like every day, every week, you're going to be making small improvements that get you closer and closer to what you're achieving. And that's what we're seeing. And I think keep that in mind every day. If you're doing something that moves that needle a slight bit closer to where you want to be, it's going to have a massive change over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
And this isn't as sexy, but it's more practical.
Yeah.
It's realistic. And
Which is how I describe myself. Not sexy, but I'm practical. I'm realistic. Safe pair of hands. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that's a nice way to end you being creepy.
Yeah. No, I'm practical.
That was so
Realistic.
practical.
Yeah. Yeah. So buy that book and just move that needle slightly closer, day by day, week by week. Yeah. Do it. It's one thing I'm really passionate about. It's helped us so much, and I know it can help a huge amount of businesses, whether you're small or you've got 100 people. It's definitely going to help.
And if you found this episode interesting or useful, definitely check out, we've got 140 odd other episodes, so go and check those out on our website, businessanchors.inc. And if you have found this useful, let someone know that they should listen to this.
Yeah.
Because spread the word.
Maybe do it publicly on social media, like we said.
Yeah.
Might send a few books out. Who knows?
And we'll
See you in your ears next week.